Superman punch, Glasgow kiss, then a spear by Drew. He does the countdown, hits the Claymore. Dude, this crowd was all ready to just erupt. Like, in terms of timing it, they had it. If this 3 count occurred, like, it was just everything was laid out perfect for this 3 count, and the ref gets pulled out, and it's Solo Sikoa making his main roster debut. And I don't know, what did you make of the reaction to Solo Sikoa? Because I read it as one of 2 things, is that, and maybe a combination of both, that the audience, as soon as the Solo Sikoa pulled him out, they either realized that, okay, he is not winning this match in terms of Drew McIntyre. Number 2, I would question how many knew who this was in Solo Sikoa.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty positive reaction personally, and maybe it was just my own surprise at seeing him. And I think, to me, like, the courage, or I should say, like, maybe risk of debuting an NXT 2.0 guy that I think a very, very small fraction of their audience has actually heard of and seen, but debuting him in, talk about a prime spot, like, it's harder for me to think of, like, main roster debuts that are featured in such, like, significant roles. Like,
he's getting paired in the group with the world champion, the biggest guy in the company. Like, this is a huge spot that he is walking into.
Biggest champion in the company. But the spot in the match itself, John, this is a stadium show, 62,000 people.
This was going to be the biggest reaction of the show. Like, they were
the biggest false finish of that match after what, like 30 minutes or something like that, John? Like this.
Yeah. This ends right after with Solo Sikoa. He snaps Drew's neck, and Roman spears him and wins in 30-47.
It was among the biggest spotlights that I think I've seen for somebody, at least on a Solo Sikoa level, who, again, he's not a former NXT champion. Like, he's not a name that, even if you're if you've only heard about NXT 2.0, that you would necessarily be thinking about.
Yeah.
He's not
like a push guy in NXT, but not like this isn't Braun Breaker. He's not even like,
he hasn't even won the North American Championship.
Yeah.
So like, he's just like, the only association that people would have of him is that, oh, he looks like an Uso. He looks like, a member of the Bloodline. And ultimately, I think that's honestly all you need. I thought it was successful because the follow-up is going to be, so big for him. He's going to ride off of this moment, like, for a long, long time. Solo Sikoa is. So and if you're coming out of this match, if you need a reason for a false finish, like, I think it's good use of that time, because you're coming out of this with tremendous momentum for a brand new character.
Yeah, this all comes down to, if you are booking for the day, it's Drew winning this match. Like, if you're booking for this audience, it's Drew winning. You have to balance that with what is the bigger picture. And obviously, the bigger picture is this title staying on Roman for what they have planned. Without knowing those plans, like, you can't, like, just thumbs down this decision. But man, you only get so many chances to do a win like that, and I feel Drew, like, just holding this thing for 2 or 3 months would have been. Yeah, you could argue that, does a short reign really benefit Drew in the long run? I think it would, but they're staying the course with something that they have dedicated 2 years to, so they have a bigger story to tell with Roman Reigns staying champion.
Part of the reason why I think some of those false finishers were so successful is because I think, like most people, I think at least to me, Drew was a favorite, like, going into this, and I think everybody in this audience recognized that, hey, we could actually very likely see a championship change.
They bought these near falls with Drew, and I think everyone watched it. Like, this was not a case of no one believing Drew could win. I think it was quite the opposite, that there was an expectation Drew was winning by like the midway point.
And because of the constant reminder of, like, SummerSlam 92, and really, like, what made that show so memorable is the fact that you got a hometown guy winning in front of a stadium. And I imagine everybody thought they were going to get
some of the Vince McMahon influence is still here, as we will move
losing
on.
In the hometown.
So, some of the flavors of ice cream are the same.
But sometimes it's appropriate, and without knowing their long-term plans, we can't necessarily say whether or not this was the right moment. I can say, though, I think wrestling audiences now are like privy enough to, like, the inner workings of wrestling to not necessarily say whether or not they had a good time at a show based off of just a result of whether or not their hometown guy won. In the end, did you were you entertained by the match? Were you entertained by the performances of, you know, both your hometown guy and the other guy? And I think everybody came out of this with an answer of yes. So
yeah, I did not think this was, you know, this, I thought it was, especially the second half, it turned into a very good match. I don't even know if it was the best match on the show, but I would imagine for those that were live there, this was an incredible experience for this match because it sounded incredible for these near falls. I would amplify that by many multiples if you were there live, where they must have been losing their minds. And some of the cutaway shots to the fans reacting, they were awesome during this match. Like the fans they found who were just losing it over some of these near falls. So it looked like a spectacular match to be in attendance for.
I'm in agreement. You know, it was a very slow paced match, but when you have a crowd this good, it's smart to work slow, to conserve yourself, you know, to drag out that time. And by the end, the reactions that they got were probably the loudest that, you know,
the last 10 minutes I thought were pretty phenomenal. Like the last 10 minutes were like incredible. Like I'm judging it as a whole 30-minute match, but the last like 10, 12 minutes were high level, like maybe made the best 12 minutes of any match on this show. Like it was really intense for the near falls. You believed Drew could win. They had some clever stuff.
The Theory cash-in attempt was with
the cash-in was a great spot. It was a great spot, and it'll be on kind of your attitude towards doing kind of a Solo Sikoa here. But my first thought was in Solo Sikoa leaving with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn realizing he is not going to be the flavor of the month anymore with Roman Reigns, and how he is going to deal with Solo Sikoa.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
They're gonna have some fun segments together. Jay loves this guy. Like Jay has to be over the moon that Solo Sikoa is there, and now he has all the time in the world for a new member of the Bloodline, and Sami can be old news.
Maybe like they have a table that only has 4 seats, and now like Sami suddenly has to give up his seat and he has to stand. I can't wait. You know,
the fifth wheel, Sami Zayn.
Oh, excellent.